built.
That's cool.
He built out the field operations software specifically for the HVAC
Oh.
commercial space.
Nice,
So,
cool, nice, excellent.
so something to keep in mind as Kathy goes to the demo there. But over 1,000 customers, 30,000 plus users. So obviously joining a strong network of customers and people that are looking to enhance the product in the same way that most likely you guys are. So, and then, so these three areas are really what we solve today: simplicity in the field for your technicians, providing that accurate data back to the office, and getting bills out faster, able to invoice, bill out, and improve that customer experience overall. So this is probably the most important slide to make sure that we've drilled down on the pain points, and appreciate you guys taking some time to send those notes over. It makes the presentation with Kathy and hitting on those points with the demo a lot easier. But on the left-hand side, it sounded like the preventative maintenance contracts is a big part of the business there. So we'll go over how that's set up in the system and what that looks like today. Completing the service ticket from the call to the mobility and the iPhone, and what that looks like for your technicians, and then just managing that life cycle overall throughout the whole work order process. Is there anything that we need to add there or tweak, or is that all?
I think those are the kind of the primary points.
That looks good.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Have you guys looked at Intacct yet? Or
Did you guys look at it when you were down at, no? Okay.
No, we just looked at the field stuff. We didn't look at any of the accounting stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, the solution works for 100 in tax, so all good there. But obviously, from today's presentation, it'll deal more with the Intacct side of the house.
Sure.
And then before we get to Kathy's demo, I'd like to just kind of visualize the bi-directional data points between the two systems here. So your AR customers flow back and forth between Sage Field Operations and Sage Intacct. So you're able to think of it as your service module on top of the Sage accounting system. You can set up those like AR customers within Sage Field Operations, and it flows directly in real time back to the accounting system.
Sure.
Okay.
Items, vendors, items flow back and forth. Vendors flow back into Sage Field Operations. Locations, departments, warehouses. We haven't talked too much about inventory, but that if that's a phase 2, phase 3 type initiative for you guys, just keep in mind that obviously there's another tight integration point there with the inventory. And then lastly, you can create purchase orders from the field. That flows back. The purchase order receipt goes back into Sage Field Operations. You're able to invoice directly from the service module, and that goes to the order entry point in Sage Intacct. There's another option where it flows directly to the accounts receivable invoice. And then lastly, the work order dimension is really a key differentiator, where we have a specific part of the database where it's dedicated to your work orders and service management, and you're able to kind of slice and dice the data specifically for your service department there. So we'll show you what some of those dashboards and what that looks like in the system, but again, just find it helpful to kind of visualize that before you jump into that.
Sure.
Okay.
But that's all I had on my end. Do you guys have any questions or?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, I got one thing, Eric. I think I heard this correctly. Did you say that the Sage Field Operations would integrate with our current Sage 100 software, or no?
Yeah.
Are you a 100 contractor?
Or not? Nope. Just Sage 100.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry, it's specific to the construction.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd have to be in this software, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but good question. Great.
All right.
I'll stop sharing here.
And if you don't mind, Eric, I might just add one more comment for all.
Sure.
And that's that, we're focused on field operation and construction, but what we're not planning to do in detail is Sage Intacct Finance today.
Mhm.
We'll,
Yep.
we'll touch on that, but that would be a follow-up later, just if you were, and I'm thinking, yes, Mary, that's mostly you and team.
Yeah, that's probably more my world, but that's fine. I know that the guys were looking at the solution more so for the field operation end of things.
Yep. All right. That's it.
Awesome.
All right. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Okay, awesome. So I was at the AHR show. So who did I see? Was it Mike?
Yeah, Mike and Jim as well.
Mike and Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. You guys made it home okay with the ice storm and all?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that wasn't too bad. I think it was a little more slippery on the way in than it was on the way out.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, it was great to meet you there, and it's great to have this follow up here and with the rest of the team. I'm going to go through the workflow, kind of what we discussed at AHR, but maybe in a little bit more detail so you guys can actually see the tight integration into the various Intacct modules. I think that will help the whole team understand the complete picture. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to dive right in. Let's see. All right. So what we're looking at here is my scheduler, my dispatch board, my D board, whatever you guys call it. And I am sitting here on our week view. So we have a day, a week, 2 weeks, and a month are the various views that we have. And if you wanted to toggle, let's say I'm on the week view and I wanted to toggle over to the next week, I could just hit these arrows in the upper sort of left-hand middle column there and get to the different timelines that you want to see. When I'm staring at this board right now, Kathy Technician does not have a work order yet. I'm going to go ahead and create one here in a bit. But you can see tomorrow I have some that are white in color. So those are open work orders yet to be done. The ones that are gray in the past, those are ones that I've completed. So that's an indication those are completed work orders. And then you'll see some other colors. You'll see green, you'll see blue down here. We also, what Sue's going to talk about, we also integrate with the construction side of the house. So if you're looking at my schedule and you see something that begins with a work order, that's a service ticket. So WO3124 is a service ticket. If you're looking at something that begins with JOB, like this one I'm hovering over now, 20006, that's a construction job. So know that if the need arises, you could use this tool for scheduling both construction and service if you have some hybrid employees. You could also create different views, different groups. So maybe I have a boiler group or just a regular emergency ticket group or whatever those different groups are, geography, whatever. Maybe it's service and construction. You can have different employees in different groups, so you might have different schedulers. So know that that is all capable in the program. The way you would get to that is right now I'm focused on work orders, but if I wanted to switch to jobs, I would come right here. And if I wanted to pull up a job, I'd just start typing. I'm going to go to my Clackamas job, and then it would pull my job and my cost codes and enable me to schedule that. So when Eric was going through and he was talking about our tight integration, when I'm pulling up these jobs here, and I know you haven't seen Intacct, but I'm going to keep referring back and forth so you have an idea of where everything resides. It's coming from this jobs projects module. So it's coming directly from, here's my Clackamas job, all of this information in here. So we have, when you're doing something in service, when you're pulling a vendor for your purchase order, when you're pulling a customer to bill, it's pulling right from these modules. So if you're going to bill someone, it's coming right from accounts receivable. If you're creating a purchase order, it's coming right from your accounts payable vendors, direct integration back and forth to the different modules. And I think that's important because it lends itself to no double entry, seeing the most recent data and having that visibility. All right, let me go back to my work orders. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a work order. I'm going to search for a site. So I'm going to start typing ALL. And ALL could be part of an address. It could be part of the name of the service site. And I'm going to go ahead and pick my main service site called Allstate University. And I'm clicking into that. So now I am in the Allstate University service site. And you can notice I can see all of the various work orders, my work order history. I can create a new work order. I can see my site equipment, any site details. So if I click on my site equipment, I am now in the Allstate University site. And here are all, I have a lot of rooftop units here. Here are my rooftop units. I can drill down into a specific rooftop unit. Now I'm in Allstate University in my RTU number 1. And I can see my service history on this specific piece of equipment because I've drilled down into the site and then I've drilled down into a specific piece of equipment.
Hey, Kathy,
Yes.
is the history on that piece of equipment, that customer, is that available or accessible to the technician in the field?
It is. And I'll click to my iPhone here in a minute, and I will show you how you would do that.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to go to my work order, create a new work order. And when I create a new work order, it knows my default information. It brings that in for the site. It knows the center. Now, this is something you haven't seen yet. It's coming from Intacct. Think of it as if you have, I'm going to say their locations, or I'm going to go with divisions, and where you want I always like to say the debits and the credits, where you want the accounting transactions to go. It's tied to your locations so that the revenue and expenses are going to go to the right place. We can tie this to a specific piece of equipment. So if I wanted to tie it to a rooftop unit, I can do that. And now we come down to more specifics for the call. So is this no heat? I'll just go with that. Actually, I'm going to go with service. Call type, just that. Is this a T&M? Is it a quota job? Is it a callback? Is it warranty? Is it whatever? These are the problem codes, and the call types would pertain to what you guys are used to using. So these are, that's something that you would create in implementation and decide what you want your problem codes and your call types to be. One thing to note here, you can see next to my call types, some of these say WIP in parentheses.
Yeah.
So what that means is, you have a work in process or a WIP account for service.
Yep.
So if you didn't want the costs to hit cost of sales right away until you invoice, you can select the WIP one. And
and that's how we handle it currently. So.
Okay. So you're very familiar with that.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and do TMM. Now, behind the scenes for Allstate University, I have rate sheet and markup tables aligned to this. So that's done at the location level. When you create that location, you can have as many rate sheets as you need. So if you want one, if your rates are unique to each site, you can do that. If you have just a default that applies, you can, do that, or a hybrid of the two. Priority, what's your priority? Is this urgent, high? Set your priority. Estimated repair hours. My system defaults to 2, but you can just, override that. My system defaults to today's date, but I just click in the field if I need to put it to a future date. It shows the calendar there. And then the time works the same way. Do I want to put this out to a different time? Do I want to work on this now? I'm going to keep this to myself, but if I wanted to put this unassigned or assign it to a different tech, this is where I would do it with the assign box. And description reasons. So these would be your common calls, just to make it easier to create the work ticket. So maybe, there's a condenser issue. And with that selection, you want a description to come in to save keystrokes to not have to, you know, sit there and enter the description. Once you have this quick list, you can add to these as well. And then coming down here, we also have the ability, I have a custom alert here. You don't have to use the custom alerts. You could turn them off. But if you wanted to have, a lot of times I know people need access code. You can let the tech know there's an access code that's needed. And you can also have custom fields. If there's other information that you want to capture, you can do that. That's what that work order status is. It's somebody else wanted to see a custom field there. So now I'm in my work order, 3212. And I have my access code front and center there. I also have something called a site alert. So you have the ability to have these work order alerts. And if you wanted a standard site alert, something you want the technician to see, you would be able to have that as well. So I'm going to go ahead. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to switch screens. So if you bear with me here while I get my iPhone set up. Just going to take a minute to hook it up. Okay. So now I'm going to switch. And now I am on Kathy's iPhone. So I'm on my daily assignments page, similar to what it would look like if I was on my assignments page on the web. So here's my assignments, here's my work order. Now I'm on my iPhone, here's my work order. So I'm going to go ahead and complete my work order. All right, so a couple things to know here. The first is these little icons here on my work order. This is directions, the little arrow here. So if I wanted to get directions to Allstate University, I would click on my arrow and it's going to take me, mine goes to Google Maps, and it is going to take me to give me my directions. I'm going to have to set up a closer job because I'm in South Carolina today and it's
gonna be a long service call.
I know.
I won't be there in 2 days.
Right. Everyone wants this T&M, right? That's a good one.
Send it to me.
Oh my gosh. So, you know, start directions, and that's available right from the app. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to pause here. Do you guys use punch in, punch out?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No. Okay. So you would not have these quick punches unless you want to track travel. So what they would do is they would go to this eyeball here, and that is going to take them into the detail of the work order. Also, to get the service site history, you can also click that right from here. And this hyperlink, this blue Allstate University, will get you to that service site history as well. Before I leave here, I know sometimes your technicians create work orders in the field. So the ellipsis in the lower right-hand corner, I would click that. And this is where I would create a work order from the field.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, we don't currently have that option.
Okay, wonderful. So that's how they would do it if they're. I think I read a majority of the time they're creating these from the field. Did I read that in the notes?
They're calling into the office, so they do not currently have the ability to generate their own work orders. They have to utilize the front office to have us create it, and then we give them what the job number is.
Okay. All right.
So it looks like this would actually give them the opportunity where they don't have to call the office. They can go ahead and just generate it directly from their cell phone.
Correct.
Nice.
All right, so eyeball's going to get me, the eyeball icon's going to get me to the meat of the work order. So let me go ahead and click that. Now it's loading. You're going to see I have some more information here. It's the full work order. I can view more. I can see all my description. Once again, I have that hyperlink to Allstate University. So now it's going and it's pulling up all of that service site history. So here are my work orders. Here's that equipment on the site. So remember our RTUs. That's going to get me to my RTUs from here. If I need to add a new piece of equipment, I can do that as well. This button down at the bottom, new equipment. If I need to see the detail on one of these RTUs, now I'm in the piece of equipment, and now I'm looking at the history specific for that piece of equipment.
Nice.
Okay. So that's how you would drill down and get to all of that. So back at my work order, the plus sign at the bottom is going to give the technician, I'm going to say the direction, or all the, they call them breadcrumbs, whatever you guys want to call them. I'll call them breadcrumbs. Here are my breadcrumbs. So the bubbles are going to take them around the work order. So do I need, will they be adding parts from truck inventory? I can't remember that one.
Will they be adding parts typically from parts that would be purchased from a vendor?
Or they may have some truck stock.
Yeah, once in a while, it's parts that they have on their trucks.
Yeah, so either
Okay.
way.
Okay, so when I add a part, I'll show both. So when I add a part and I come to my parts and I start typing my wire, pick my wire mesh, enter my quantity, I'll use one of those. You'll notice here, stocking location. These are my stocking locations, and this is my inventory on those locations. So I currently don't have any. My system's going to still allow me to select it, even though I don't have any. But when I have that, it's pulling directly, it's letting me know, the 0 is letting me know I don't have any in stock. So it's giving me my real-time quantity on hand. Then in the bottom right there where it says select equipment, here's where I can tie that part to a specific piece of equipment if I wanted to. And then I'd submit. So I'm adding my wire mesh to my work order, pulling it off of live phone. I've got a call coming in. So now my part is added, and now I can do additional work. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and add some notes. I would come here, add my new notes. Now we have something, we had I'm a brave individual today because we had a release that came out last night, and I updated my app. So now I have the ability not only to do talk to text, which I'll do here, but also we have the ability to select canned responses. So we can, if we have set responses in our system, so standard work complete, all of that is going to flow in automatically. It's a pre-set up response that will enable you not to have to type as much and talk to text. It's going to flow in automatically. You can have as many canned responses as you want, and you can bring in multiple canned responses. So maybe preventative maintenance complete, and you wanted, verbiage around that, you would bring that in. Then below, you can see we also have canned responses for office. So maybe there's a quote needed, or maybe there was a safety issue, or maybe you don't have the right part, you want parts on order, you would pick that. Or as I mentioned, you can also do talk to text. I am available for overtime, period. And you can do talk to text. So either canned responses now, as of yesterday, or talk to text. And then you'd submit your notes, adding your notes to the work order. Any questions on that one?
No. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask, do they ever go to supply houses and purchase parts that way?
Yep, they do. Yep.
All right. So, and what is your current workflow for that? Do they create a purchase order? Do they call in for a PO number?
So some items they would, they kind of have anything under $500, they can utilize their job number. So, they would not have to contact the office. Anything once it goes over 500, they would have to contact the office. And, if they're just purchasing things to keep on their truck, then they need a purchase order.
And are you referring to parts specifically for a
For the
job?
For this.
Or are you referring to just truck stock? Probably parts for this job, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, if it's just parts for this job, then they would just use the job number.
Yeah.
Or the work order number in this
Unless
case.
it's a very large purchase, then they would have to.
Very large, as in like.
Yeah.
Not very many.
Not very often, because most of those jobs go into quoting status.
Yeah.
And they're not the ones that are going to be generating appeal.
Okay, so 2 workflows that are possible here then. One,
Okay.
and I'll show you creating a PO, but we can also add miscellaneous items and take
Okay.
a photo of the receipt. So either or, you know, you might use the PO for certain scenarios and just adding miscellaneous items and creating a description for other items. Probably is what it sounds like, but I'm going to show you the PO one now. So let's go and create a purchase order. Vendor, here's that vendor that's coming from accounts payable that we talked about earlier. So if I start to type in, I put ER. Here are my
Nice.
vendors that have ER in them. And I'm going to go ahead and select mine. And right below the blue button, create PO. So now I'm creating that purchase order. When I create that purchase order, it's going to look at the purchasing module, and it's basically bringing in the next PO number to my work order here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and I'm going to order some wire. And save in new if I'm ordering multiple items on this PO. Save if I'm good with my one item. I can add any notes right here, and they would carry through to purchasing as well. I'm going to save this.
Kathy, for all of these materials, like when they kind of auto-populate, were those all items that you would set up initially? You know, when you're setting up everything with your system, you can add materials, I guess, to that inventory list as well. Is that correct? My understanding, It's not something that would come automatically with the program. It would be something that we would customize to what we need. Is that correct?
Correct. Typically, what clients will do is from your current system, if you have an inventory listing, you would export that and probably that would be the list you would upload.
Okay, nice.
Right.
Got it.
So we have our wire PO. Here's that number 611. Let me go ahead and move this for 1 second, and I'm going to flip back to Intacct.
Okay.
I think this helps you kind of visualize.
Visualize it, yeah.
I have quick lists. This is my shortcut to get to a purchase order. It's called favorites here.
Yep.
And you can see here this first one, PO 611.
Oh, yeah. And it shows up in real time.
611 from when I entered on the phone. I'm going to go ahead and say edit. Here's my Barth Electric. If I scroll down, I can see here my wire 12, and it can go through your purchasing process at this point. So if you set up a purchasing approval, I'm going to go ahead and approve this, and now it's waiting for the items to come in. So today you would come here, and if it's something that they're buying at a supply house, whoever's approving this purchase would basically receive it right away because they have the inventory items. In the future, what we're going to look to do is allow the technician, if we set it up this way, to do the receipt right from here.
Okay.
So
stay tuned
on that.
Kathy, is there a notification, like you said, approving a PO? So, you know, in the front office itself, does a notification come over, I guess, to the physical office side, notifying that something has to get approved? Is that kind of how that interaction works?
Yes, you can set it up. So within Intacct, you have the ability to set up there's purchasing approval workflows that you can set up.
Okay, okay.
There's all sorts, and Sue can talk to this later, but there's
sure.
smart rules, smart events that would trigger notifications to your team.
Okay.
And Kathy, I assume we'd be able to set it up so our technicians could purchase parts without having an approval as well,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Yeah, what you can have them do, yeah, you don't have to have it go through the purchasing workflow, or you don't have to have it set up as approval. That could,
Yeah.
you can set up parameters to not have that also.
Yep, okay.
Perfect.
The one thing today, though, the receipt would still have to happen in the office.
Okay.
So that's the one thing we're working to change.
Okay.
But yeah. So are your technicians always invoicing in the office, or is that the exception and not the
No,
norm?
all of the invoicing actually currently happens here in the front office. So basically the flow is work orders are filled out by our guys. They submit everything into the office. We're taking that information, plugging it verbiage wise, what was actually happened on that job into our Sage system. And then the invoicing takes place from that point, once the job is complete.
Okay, perfect. So that would work then. You could still invoice it at that time, and they don't
Yes.
have to do it in the field. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, the guys would not be doing the invoicing, but this is, it looks nice from the standpoint we don't have to have as much interaction with the front office generating POs. And it looks like it has a direct tie into that job. So there's less chance that you're going to have an issue. Yeah, things getting missed, or even them using the wrong job number potentially, or something like that. It just seems like there's a greater likelihood that the materials purchased directly for that job looks like they'll be connected directly to the job, provided they're following correct procedure.
Correct.
That's the key.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add some time since we're not punching in, punching out. Let me go ahead and add 3 hours. I can add my description for work performed. I can add notes. I'm just going to go ahead and submit my time. And now I'm going to take, I think I read, they take images. Do they take photos at the site?
They do. They have the ability. We have an app that we currently use. It's not integrated with our Sage system, but all of the work orders are done electronically, and they are able to take photos of like nameplates, things like that, model serial numbers, maybe something that needs a repair, and they can embed that into the electronic form and submit it then to the office.
Okay. So we come back to our breadcrumbs, and up at the top, you can see add attachments. So I'm going to go ahead and click add attachments. Now I have the ability to choose a file, and I can take a photo, video, or choose from my camera roll, or choose a file. If I have some sort of a PDF or something I wanted to upload, I can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and take a photo of my screen here.
Oh, that's okay.
And I'm just going to say before. So techs out there, they are taking photos. I'm going to upload this attachment. Now I'm uploading this attachment to my work order. So it's up there. If I refresh my screen here, my attachments show all the way at the bottom. There's my job. Let me move this over for 1 second.
Yeah.
Refresh this. Okay. And now you can see, if I refresh this work order on the web, here's my photo.
There it is. Okay.
There, my part. Here's my wire mesh and my green wire on order. My notes. Here, the canned notes I brought in. Thank you for calling ABC Contractors. And also when I said I was available for overtime. All of those are here.
It's showing up there.
Yep. So let me come back to here. And let's say I am fast forwarding. I'm ready to create my service report. So I'm going to go to my breadcrumbs again, click reports. And now as I scroll down, a couple different workflows. So if I wanted to create a checklist. Maybe there was a safety checklist or some sort of a photo report you want done or whatever that might be, PM inspection report. There is a custom forms tool within Sage Field Operations under tools. Here it is, forms. So you can create various forms. You can make forms recommended on certain type of sites, call types, or you can make them required.
Okay.
So that workflow is up to you. I'm going to go ahead and say create the service report, and this is what it would look like.
Kathy, these forms that you're talking about, are these forms that we're able to custom create within our office and attach into Sage?
Correct. You're creating them in Sage
You're creating
Field
within
Operations.
Sage. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And then you're putting the rules behind the form. So the rule behind this HVAC equipment replacement checklist is I've put it for this site and this probably call type, it's recommended. And this one's also recommended. But I could have said, make this required, which means I can't create my service report until I do that form.
Ah, okay.
So it could be a hard stop if you want
Okay.
to mandate that they complete it. I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah,
and continue.
are we able to do that with other fields in the service ticket, make it required before they can submit?
It would depend on, let me think about that. Not necessarily all of them. We'd have to look at what form.
Okay. So
But
if I just go ahead.
I can't necessarily mandate it, let's say, for labor. Like I can't say I must have labor entered into this work ticket before I can complete it. I don't have a rule for that, no.
Sure. So just looking at our current service ticket, there's a couple of fields here for like truck stock items. This kind of comes back to and ties into inventory. So we have like a list of items that are under that truck stock menu that we can select from. It's generic stuff that, guys use regularly, whether it's like nitrogen in the summer or, I don't know, rags, degreaser, that sort of stuff. So that's one field you have the option to select none. So we like to have that there so that it's on their mind, like, hey, did I use something? They're able to select that, yes or no, and what it was. They can enter other or whatever. The other field we have is for tool rentals. So torch, recovery unit, vacuum pump, all the common tools that we're using, so that we're recovering costs on those over time, so we're able to afford to replace them. Those are a couple of fields that come to mind that are required, that they have to at least select no, I didn't use any tools, or I didn't use any truck stock items. So at least they have to go through that process in their mind, so that something isn't potentially missed on that.
Okay, what I would think for that is, for the material usage, maybe create a required form that has a couple lines. In your example, were rags used? Yes or no. Was this used? Yes or no. Not applicable. And create a simple checkoff box list that's required. So it forces them to have to capture that, and it will include that checklist, in the work order detail as a PDF. But that way you're forcing them to capture it, answer the questions, so if that was actually used. That would probably be, I think, a great way to accomplish that.
Okay. So for example, if we're gonna do a tool rental, it's really common in summer for our technicians to be using a torch on a leak repair on a rooftop unit, a vacuum pump along with that. We have costs associated to that. Right now, we're manually entering those costs. If we had a required form that was attached, are we able to assign a cost to that, and will that automatically integrate and apply those costs to our invoice?
You can have that as a non-inventoried item, and you can have a cost associated to it. but I don't think I can, like, if I had that mandatory form and I selected, that tool with the cost, it's not going to automatically flow into the invoice piece. You'd still have to enter it as enter the non-inventoried item on the work with tickets.
Sure. Just trying to find a spot to put those, kind of have those checks and balances with the technicians, so we're not, losing the ability for us to charge for those items. Again, it's stuff that we have to afford to replace those tools over time, and those are specialty tools that we feel like we should be able to charge our customer for whatever that dollar amount is that we decide in the office. So we would need to have something that, whatever field it is, that there is, you can call it a hard stop if you want, but it's something that they're required to go through and say, did you use any of these tools? Select whatever you did use, select none. But to have those costs associated would be, ideally, that would be something that would be integrated right into that cost of generating that invoice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kathy, is it possible, can you make the flat rate breadcrumb a required field and embed it inside of the flat rate? So that they have to open flat rate and either select, you didn't show us that section of it, so I'm just curious if that's something that we could build into the flat rate section, whereas they have to go into it and either select items that they might have used off of their truck that we could have a cost associated to that would flow in.
Not mandatory. No.
You can't make that mandatory?
No, the form would be the best way, and that would capture the information. And I think just listening to, the scenario, if the tech forgets to add, the tool usage or whatever, they're not capturing it, the miscellaneous item with the cost, maybe that's a step at the review process, that if somebody sees that the material usage had these materials and they weren't added, they could still add them in the review process. That's maybe what I'm thinking of as a workflow for that.
Yeah, that sounds like an option. What comes to mind for me is just knowing that if it's me filling that out and I'm trying to get through it fast, I might open up that attachment and just select, yep, we're good. Move on to something else.
I'll think about it. I can't think of another way to do it right now, but I will, I'm going to write that one down, or Eric, if you can write that one down, and
Yep.
Maybe if I could see if there's a different workflow for that. But
so essentially, Kathy, all of these little breadcrumbs here, you can't make any of those a required field.
Not at this time, no. But I have had, labor's a really popular one that I've taken back to the team and said, especially for those who are using the punch in, punch out, they want, if they're going to go to complete their work order, a very common ask is, can something pop up telling them they haven't punched out yet? So that we've just added to our enhancement list.
Even labor for us is a big one. If guys, before we made that a required field, people would be submitting work orders with no labor on it, right?
Right. And that goes back to that pop-up, is it mandatory, but we'll definitely add it to our enhancements, because if you do one as a pop-up, I think I'm not a programmer, but it would seem like you could easily add other ones. But I think labor is probably the first one that they would attempt.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be the most common.
Right.
Yeah.
Another service ticket, or another item that's on our service tickets, or another field, I should say, is like refrigerant handling. It's obviously very important for us to have documentation, if we're ever audited by the EPA, that we are documenting our refrigerant recoveries and additions and stuff like that. So that's another thought, that would be something we want to make sure that, the technician has to go through that thought process. Yes, did I or didn't I? And that was to filling out the refrigerant handling report.
Okay, yeah, to make that mandatory, you mean?
Well, it would have to be just a kind of, I mean, the way it's set up right now with what we're using, it's a yes or no. If it's yes, then it drills down to the fields that are required to complete for a refrigerant report. If it's no, you skip right over to the next step.
Okay. Okay, add that one too. All right, I'm going to go to reports.
Don't you think?
Create my service report. I'm going to continue through that. And now, it's a little small on my screen, but now I'm to the part where I'm creating my service report. Here's my images. I can have up to 4 images here. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one and continue. So now I'm in my service report. My description comes through, my work performed notes. Thank you for calling ABC Contractors. It's Kathy on 216. So if you have multiple techs, maybe you have a couple techs assigned to this work order, they're adding various notes, it would stamp who entered what. Here's my image. Now mine is showing pricing. Probably this is going to be suppressed in your scenario. You wouldn't show pricing necessarily on the service report,
Right.
but it's going to bring in all of my information here, giving me the ability to enter comments and capture the signatures at the bottom.
Is there a way that you can send a copy then to the customer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Once I accept the terms of this,
Yeah.
I can set this up right here. You can see attach, save, and send email, and this can go to our site contacts. So
Okay.
if you set up the customer and the site contact,
Sure.
and you set up the workflow to automatically email this out, once I send this, it's going to send that to the customer. All right, so what this looks like, let me move this. And so my service report is here. And let's go ahead and let's fast forward, and we are going to get ready to invoice this. So a couple different things with regard to that. If I go to my dashboard here, we can set up, I don't know your current workflow or how you invoice. We can set up dash parts, work orders awaiting first review, work orders awaiting final review, and we can set up notifications here. We also, if I'm in a given work order, let me go ahead and get back in there. We have the ability to also review from within here. So if I wanted to review my margins, my gross margins, push it out to Excel, be able to do that here. I would be able to mark it as reviewed, first level review from here.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to flip over and I'm going to show you the office view. So in the office view, it's the same information. It just changes it around. So my attachments are here. Here's my photo. Here's my service report. My notes are here. And then down below, if I click to my register tab, and I'm going to click on a line item, you can see down below, it opens up the fields. So if I wanted to change the number of wire mesh we entered, I would do it here. If my pricing didn't look right, I can click into this and I can edit this here. So this is where the second reviewer or the reviewer, if you just have one, would go through everything. Anything looks wrong, they can delete it. Anything is missing, they can add an item.
Mhm.
So they would go through. Once they do that, they can mark it as reviewed. And now I'm able to come here and create an invoice. When I'm in my invoice, I can click Invoice All button on the right-hand side. And on the left here, Create Invoice. Let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to get a reminder because I have that open purchase order. Do I want to create this? I still have an open PO. I'm just going to say yes, but it gives you that reminder that there is still an open PO on this work ticket. So now what it's doing is behind the scenes, it's posting this invoice. It's posting it to, and it's already done, it's posting it to the order entry module. So if I come here and I go to this invoice report, my invoice for $84, and my customer is called Bill Ricky Holdings. That's who this site is aligned to. So let's go back to Intacct. Now I'm flipping back. My favorites, order entry or sales invoice. And here is Bill Ricky Holdings, $84. Go ahead and view this. And as I scroll down, here is my $84. I can look at my posting details on the second tab. And based on how I told it behind the scenes to post, it's posted to those AR.
Nice. Okay.
So all of that is done. It's also sitting in accounts receivable. So when you do that, it already creates the invoice here. And my $84 is here.
It's there. And then if you went into the GL, I'm sure you would be able to see those individual items then.
Yep. So that's the Intacct side, the posting. So coming back here is, I still have all of my attachments, my service report, my notes, all of that still retains here. The other thing you can do is you can send attachments at this point. So up at the top, there's a send attachments button. It gives me the ability to send the service report, the invoice report, any forms, any images, and I can send them in one packet if I wanted to.
Okay.
So this is another use case. Our current customers love this feature to be able to send the packet.
That's awesome.
Then on the invoicing side, the other thing we can also do is we have the ability to do batch invoicing.
Okay.
So if you didn't want to do what I just did and do them one at a time, and maybe you wanted to
put them all into
basically
a batch.
do the days or the weeks, you could do that.
Yeah,
I know
that's typically how we do it. So
I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but is it okay if I have a couple more things I want to show, Sue? Is that okay?
You're fine, Kathy.
Okay. All right.
Take it away.
A couple other things then. Thank you, Sue. If I come back to Intacct, and Sue's going to tell you, if she has time, all about the what's called dimensions. So Intacct and the power behind the general ledger here are basically the tagging the data or dimensions. So think of it as here I have a location dimension. Here I have a customer dimension. And you create your reports and you create your dash parts based on these different dimensions. One of those, when you're a Sage Field Operations customer, is the work order dimension that Eric talked about a while ago. So we give that to you when you become a customer. So it gives you the ability to bring all of your work orders into the modules and be able to create dash parts and custom reports. So what we bring here is, let me go into one of these. We bring in the service site, the call type, the problem code, customer, location, department, agreement. If it's tied to an agreement, we'll bring in the agreement as well. So all of this information, so you can create reports and dash parts in Sage Field Operations. You can also create reports and dash parts in your Intacct dashboards as well. So for example, on mine, I have open work orders. I have open POs by work order. I have PM invoicing, open PO, open PM work order. So all of these, you know, what is that data that's important to you to run your business? What do you want to see on your dashboards? Be able to create the dashboards that are important to you. So I wanted to show that reporting. And then lastly, this is not released yet, and I don't know if I showed this at the AHR show, but we have a business intelligence tool that's coming out. I'm thinking it's the second quarter. So it's in beta right now. But what it gives our clients the ability to do is really, I'm going to say drill down into that service data, but really what do you want to see? First time fixed rate, mean time to resolution, profit per hour. You would select your date range and, you know, be able to analyze your data here. What we can also do is look at, let's say, technician profitability. So we have the ability now to just change that screen. Once again, change your dates. What do you want to look at? Do you want to look at gross profit per labor hour? What category do you want to look at? Do you want to look at department? Do you want to look at PMs? Do you want to look at call types? And then, so you filter here, and you can also set up the filters on the left-hand side by all of these other parameters as well, statuses, equipment types. And once you change the data, it's going to change the, this is by agreement. So maybe I want to do, I don't know, call type. I haven't played around with this much. And then I have my call types here. So once I get my parameters, I have my technicians down here at the bottom. So right now the charts and graphs are showing for all of my technicians. I can drill down into a specific technician. And now it's changing the metrics by that given technician. So now I'm looking at Jimmy's information. Yep. And then if I wanted to see, okay, well, what happened in April? What about this information? I have this drill through data to be able to get to the specific work orders. So this is, our beta customers said, well, this is great, but I want to see the specifics behind some of these numbers. You know, I want to see what work orders make up these numbers. I want the ability to drill through. So that's what we did. We gave the ability to drill through and get to that work order level to see the detail that Jimmy's work in this case. So this is one thing I wanted to show you. The other thing, and like I said, this is still in beta, still fine tuning it, getting our feedback, adjusting. One of the things that recently came out of this, and I wanted to show you this as it relates to agreements, but the agreement overview, we've had a lot of requests to be able, and this is the start of it, you know, we're still working on this, but being able to look and see when these agreements are expiring. You know, maybe some of them will renew, but maybe we want to do call outs. Just getting a handle on our agreement section in terms of expiration, in terms of brand new, as of about a week ago, agreement profitability. You know, how are we doing on these agreements? What's our profitability? You know, do we want to look at it by these completed dates, invoice date, but do we want to filter maybe for a specific customer or a specific department or a specific, you know, type of agreement? So really getting behind the detail with agreements has become a hot topic as well. So this is where we're headed. I thought it was important to show the team some of the future, and we didn't touch on a lot of this. I know forecasting is another big one. Forecasting labor hours, forecasting dollars, utilization, and all of those great things. Any questions? I know I went through that pretty quick, but
Yeah.
I've got a couple. So I wanted to ask, we run into this more often than we like to. Are there guys working way out in a cornfield on a cell site, or you're down in the basement of a equipment room and you don't have any reception on your phone? If we have let's say we have a service ticket already assigned to a technician, whether they created it or we sent it to them from the office, are they able to access that service ticket, add information to it, and then submit it? And when the phone does see reception, is it able to get that information back to the office, or is that something that needs to be done when they actually have cell reception?
Great question. So they would log in, when they start their day or whatever, and let's say they go into that basement and they lose that cell reception. They're still able to do some offline functionality. So by some, today it is add labor, add parts, add notes. All of that can be done offline. There's a couple things I don't think we're working on adding more offline functionality each month. I don't know that you can drill down into the site history just yet offline, but the basic, add a part, add a note, add labor can all be done offline and then syncs back up when they get connectivity.
Add a picture as well.
I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure if they could take a picture and add it, take a picture with their smartphone and add it later. I'm not sure if adding it to the work order offline is one of the capabilities, but I'm going to write that one down.
Okay.
And find out for you.
And then it wouldn't be able to be actually submitted. I mean, we used a form in the past that we could, I guess, click submit, and then whenever the phone did find reception, it would send that out.
Well, once it finds the reception, everything will sync back up automatically. There's not necessarily the need for that submit button, because it's one and the same with the web version. So it, just like you saw when I did something on my phone, it was automatically on the web. So once my phone gets connectivity, it will go to the web. So we will find out, Eric and I will find out the list of offline functions today, and we can get that to you.
Great. I'm thinking that the answer would be yes to this. If we're creating a service ticket in the office and assigning it to a technician, say it is a call that comes in through the office, and I think that we, in some of the notes that we sent over, we described that probably 85-90% of our calls come directly to our technicians. But if we are sending it out through the office, can we reassign that if we have another technician that becomes available sooner to take that call?
Yep. So on the scheduler function is a drag and drop functionality. So if I wanted to, take a work order and I wanted to reassign it to J, I'm just drag and dropping that work order. I'm reassigning it, and now I get the green box. That means I'm successful, and now the work order is in J's box. So it's just, reassigning, dragging and dropping. So once it's reassigned, it would show up on their assignment page then. So it would show up here as their work to be done. So drag and drop is how that would work.
Okay. And maybe this question is a little bit too early, but I wanted to ask, maybe I'm not understanding this 100%, but am I correct in saying there's Sage Field Operations, there's Sage Construction, which is different than Field Operations? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. So there's Sage Field Operations is everything to do with the work orders. So these work orders that I'm creating are not a construction job. Construction jobs are separate. Sue will go over those. Those are typically your larger jobs that have estimates, cost codes, AIA billing, things like that associated with it, and they're a lot larger. The work orders are generated in Sage Field Operations. We still sync them into Intacct for those dash parts that you saw, reporting. But a work order is, I think you guys might even call them jobs, but they stand on their own. They're their own mini job, small job, work ticket, however you want to call that.
Yeah,
Now,
that's where a lot of the data that we're capturing in the field is it's very heavy in service at Dillard. So I just wanted to. It sounds like Sue's going to take us through the Sage construction software, and I'm just curious if I want to make sure I understood that.
Now, you brought up a great point, though. So one thing I want to show you is the work orders stand on their own. So when I'm in a work order location, this is a site location. So this is that All-State University. Any work orders I create, they stand on their own. They could be T&M. It has nothing to do with a construction job. Not to confuse you, but this is something I did want to bring up. Down here where my cursor is, where I'm circling, it says job. If you had the need to tie the work orders for All-State University to a construction job, whether it's punch list items or whatever you might need a work ticket for, you can set up the site to where that you do just that. So I can tie it into a construction job. I can have the costs flow to a construction job instead of a time and material work order. We do have that ability to tie them to construction jobs. So if I go to my list of locations, All-State University, my first one, is not tied to a construction job, but Napoli's Pizzeria is tied to 03002 Clackamas. So it really depends on where you want, how you're going to bill it, where you want the cost to flow is basically what it would come down to. But typically, the work orders stand on their own and are invoiced through Sage Field Operations for your typical service call.
And we could probably run small projects with Sage Field Operations then.
Yes, we have something called, I don't know if you saw it when I was creating a work order, we have something called a small job work order. A small job work order, it's just that, it's a step above a T&M type work order. It's below in size, typically the size of a construction job. And it gives you four buckets for estimates. So if you want to just have a labor estimate, a material estimate, and other estimate, I know there might be one more. And you can do budget to actual on that small job work order, but it does not touch the construction module that Sue's going to talk about. It still stays as a small job in Sage Field Operations.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Did I confuse you on that one?
No. That's fine. I think that covers it. I have some like additional notes and questions and stuff like that, which we can get into when we do like a follow up. But yeah, I think that's a good demo of the field operations.
Okay, great. All right, Sue.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy.
You are welcome. And we'll follow up. I have Eric and I will have a couple of questions to follow up on, and we'll get back to you on that. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks again.
Okay, I am going to show my Intacct screen that Kathy referenced, the Intacct product as far as coordinating all of our work orders into the accounting system. Do we have project managers on the call today for construction, or are we just heavy on the service today?
More so to the service. I know though Jim and Mike, Paul will do some management though on jobs that they sell.
Okay, great. So this is the Intacct Accounting ERP software for construction. This will have all of your core accounting, plus where Kathy showed you the jobs application. I still have mine called projects, but we're talking about the same application. You can rename them if you're used to seeing jobs because of one of our legacy products or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an area then where we're going to do all of our core accounting. If we ever needed inventory control, we'd pull all that in. This is where she's pushing her purchase orders over, same AR, etc. So, but when we talk construction and doing an actual construction project, this software starts at creating the project and then tracking it all the way through to completion. So this dashboard is built primarily for construction. So we don't see a work order here. We see a project overview for construction. These numbers, as far as dates, you change the date, it will recalculate the dashboard. You can filter down by your departments, or if you ever had multi-companies, your divisions, you can filter down by any of that information, or how you group your projects, whether they would be a specific type of work or by a customer that you do repeat work for. Any of these options are available, and you apply those filters and you will get the information refreshed. So the project performance dashboard would be different than a controller or CFO or owner's dashboard. All of these performance cards are customized, and everyone in the company could have a dashboard. So we have here, we're tracking all of our project numbers, all of our metrics. And then we also have the ability to track non-financial statistical numbers. It could be job counts, it could be for finance, it could be employee head count. All these different statistical KPIs or metrics could be incorporated into a dashboard. So where Kathy talked about a dimension, and Eric, Intacct is all built on what we call dimensions. So as a financial solution, we provide out of the box, so to speak, all of these areas are considered to be a dimension. That's why we can run a report by customer, by department. And we don't do this within the general ledger. We don't have any need anymore for 10- office, 20- sales, 30- service. Your general ledger becomes very clean with only a 4 or 5, 6 digit functionality, whatever you want to use, because these dimensions are going to take care of all of the reporting. When we add in construction, then we get the ability to do the project with either the task or the cost code and the cost type. So we'll take a look at how that works in the project area, but it could even be further detailed by warehouses, multiple warehouses, and the contract comes in. There's also the area for the user-defined dimension. If we're missing something with all these standards, another way for you to filter or report on information. And this is where, as she said and showed you, the work order becomes a dimension and then is available for all these dashboards. But when we get into construction, then we're going to track the original contract. We're going to track change orders so that we get a revised contract. We're going to import the estimate, so that becomes our budget. Our commitments are going to be all of our purchase orders. And if we ever sub anything out to a lower tier, your sheet metal or anything like that, you could issue a subcontract to a lower tier sub of yours. We're tracking the billings, and of course, we're getting the cost. So we always have all of our budget versus actual costing, and we can get to all of this information right from a dashboard. So we go in where we see any of these blues, we can drill down and get to all of the data behind the scenes. So if I click on my costs here on this particular project, I have another field open, another report open up where I can see what's hitting my cost of sales labor account. It's, in this case, labor, I'm sending all of my wage allocations from my payroll service. I'm burdening the project. And I can drill down again. I can keep going all the way down to the source document. So if this were an AP invoice and the invoice was attached here, I could click on this and actually look at the invoice. Any document that I've attached down at the record level here could be opened up and reviewed. But I'm getting all of my GL information. I can departmentalize it because that's a dimension. I'm tracking my customer. And then I have all of my project information here. I know which project or projects I'm hitting with these entries, the cost code and the cost type. Cost types are completely customized to all the different areas that you want to see. And then you can just go right back out and you'll be back at your dashboard. So here where I'm just tracking active projects, I can then filter them by an employee dimension. Here I'm doing project managers. I could do field foremen, salespeople if you carry any sales to sell your projects. And then here I'm doing it by the type of work or building that we're completing the mechanicals on. Still the same information across the top here, but different ways to look at it and analyze it. We can then do project profitability by types, by customer, and all of this, so you still have all your drill down and you have a lot of choices here on how to segment your data. There's charts, graphs available, lots going on within the dashboards. We have a lot of owners or presidents of companies that they come into their dashboard, everything they need is here, and that's all the further they need to go. So all of this data, where did it come from? When we add construction to our Intacct core financials, we get this project or job module. Within there, we will have the construction project set up, just as Kathy said, she's tracking her service. Here's our construction. We have the ability to add that project and track it. We're going to have what dimensions we're concerned with need to be recorded, the customer, if we're project managers. We're always going to have a project summary with additional information. We will have cost codes. Now, this is a general contractor look and feel, but it would be your cost codes with all of your tasks, how you cost a construction project out. That would all be pulled in for the particular job so that we can import an estimate. With the estimates, however you're estimating, we can just take one of our Excel templates and import all of the budget items, and then we're going to track it as a primary budget. As change orders get approved, we're going to increase it or decrease it appropriately. And then all of the purchases that we've made on the project through our purchasing application. So we would have any subcontracts and then all of your purchase orders for your equipment and material that are tagged to the job is available here. When we talk about a contract, then we could handle cost plus, we could handle time and material, and we do all of the AIA type schedule of values billing for percentage of completion. So we have the ability to import the contract, the estimate, like I said, and all of the project contract lines, or we could build them in here and just add them. There's lots of options to get this data into the system. So here I'm looking at all of my line items that I'm going to bill on this project so that once this is set up, as I get change orders, I can add them here at the bottom of the project. I'll convert them and get them onto my billing. It could be number 34, or you also have the option to add them to the area of work or task and include them here if that is something that the owner or GC would want to see. So then we have our contract and we can go and generate an AIA type invoice right here within the software. We can bill by the contract, project, customer. If I go and I want to say I'm just going to invoice by this particular job, put my bill through date in here. And then I have the ability to preview my schedule of values and everything that I've already previously billed. So I can walk through, since it's an AIA, we're always tracking those application numbers. I can enter that. And then here's my schedule of values with everything that I have built. Here's a change order that has hit an existing line item. And then here are others that are falling below the line. So I have all of this data right here, everything that I've billed already. I can come in and just bill flat amounts for anything that's not been completed, or I can just adjust my percentage of completion and do my bill that way. So then I would create my invoice and I would have that ability to have that AIA document ready to go. As far as project managers and management, we would start in this software at the change request level. You can add them here. You can track all the entries on a change request. There could be multiple entries, all the different cost codes or cost types. Here's one that's just an internal one where I'm just moving dollars around. I could have any type of change order that I want to track if you have different ways you track them. So this would be the type. I can filter on all these different areas and filter down to information, go just to one project and have that project isolated. Here's an entry where I'm just giving I have a change request that's I'm going to issue to a subcontract. So as we get those approved, we convert them over to change orders and we track those, build out that change order log, and we get those changes onto our billing so that we can get them billed and taken care of. So we could, if you do any time and material at the project level, you would set it up that way. If you did any cost plus, that's an option. Here, the estimate, we have some different ways to import an estimate or import it with the full work breakdown structure. So we've imported this estimate for this project and it's our primary estimate. Again, this would be all of your task and costing and all the items that you need to incorporate into an estimate. And then we revise it like we saw on the dashboard with any approved change orders. So we're tracking it from start of the project through to finish. So beyond having all of your cost codes, you'd have a standard cost code category, which would be your tasks. If we went down here to mechanical, I am subbing it out, but you could have all your detail. This is customized to either what you're using now or what you would like it to be and like to see as far as a cost code structure. And then we have all of the capabilities to handle cost types. So we could have just labor, or you could break out regular versus overtime. Anything you did sub out, your material. You could also have one for equipment. Here I'm carrying burdens separate. You could even break equipment down into rented versus owned. So we have a standard cost code catalog and a standard cost type. Here's all of my options currently that I have, but I could easily add another one if something out of the ordinary came up on a particular project and I could use that on that project. So within this module, we have a lot going on. like I said, we'll bring it in once the project once you have that contract, and track it through to closeout. As we bill it here, just like Kathy said, with service, all of our invoices will come over here and be available for accounts receivable to apply cash to. So I have my project contract invoices coming in here. I also have my field operations invoices coming in here. So we all land up in the same place as far as AR or purchasing or AP. Questions so far?
None.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I guess one question would be, what are you guys seeing as far as the difference goes in like a dollar amount or project size that you would do in the construction module versus in the service end of
In
it?
the service work order?
Yeah.
Primarily, that is up to you, but the time of the length of the project's going to matter too. You know,
Sure.
it might be a small project, but are you in and out and it's being dragged, or can you just get in and get out and be done with it?
Sure.
I worked for a commercial roofing contractor before I joined Sage, and our rule of thumb was service division took care of everything. 15,000 and under went as a small job, a quoted job, or a work order in service, and then anything be above that where we needed a little more coordination went through projects. But you
Sure.
could set any threshold depending on your work. What you felt was the way to go here.
Yep.
It could be as small as you'd like, and it could go into the multi-millions.
Sure.
We also have the capabilities to have a parent-child project relationship if you would want to phase a large construction project. If you wanted to phase that out, here I have different divisions doing work, but if you had multiple buildings into a contract, or however you wanted to see this, you could delineate that into child or jobs here, and they would roll up to the top level. So you could either bill them individually, or you could roll them up into the one primary parent project for billing. But that even gives you further capabilities for analysis and tracking, especially labor and all of your equipment that would be needed to build into separate buildings of a large project.
Mhm.
So that this is also where you would add inventory and construction payroll, and then you'd have all of your core financials, which I think Brett had said we were going to do that demo at another time. But I want to make you aware of all the construction functionality. And also, I know you only have 15-20% of your work is construction. So
Yeah.
all of this project would handle that primarily.
Mhm.
But there is another product that it was a more recent product we acquired that I just want you to make you aware that it exists, and it's our construction management. This handles all of the pre-construction problems, workflow. We build a lead as a bid opportunity. We go through, we can import the estimate or create it here, generate the proposal after we've marked it up, import the scope, and we could send proposals out through this software. Then once it becomes a project, we go and we take all into consideration all of the project management that has to happen, whether it's RFIs, submittals, transmittals, daily logs from the mobile app, issuing purchase orders, which we would send to Intacct instead of opening up an Intacct, quality control and safety, schedules, Gantt charts, import drawings and specs, and then they're available on the mobile app. So this product, Sage acquired last May, and they've rebranded and changed the user interface. This was just a marketplace partner of Intacct, which means you could go and add it on. We have a lot of partners, third-party companies for automation of your AR, for CRMs, for construction management. And you can see those partners that are available to add on to your system for any of those things that are a big pain point for you. And that product was a marketplace partner that Sage acquired. So any company that's looking for an end-to-end solution within Sage that wants to start at pre-construction, bid opportunities, and go all the way through to close out, that's another offering that we have available. So one other thing I want to touch on is the actual reporting. When we look at construction, when we turn on this construction subscription, we add to the report center all of the project type reports that can go on the dashboard. We have financial reports, of course, for core financials, but then we get into all of our different, some of which we saw on the dashboard. We have the ability to run any of these project job cost reports, profitability reports by different segments. You always have the ability to just preview them to the screen, do exports, PDFs. You can also schedule them to automatically go out. If a project manager wants a project report every Friday, or the owner wants to see cash receipts every day, all of these reports can be processed and scheduled. We can store them for later view, or we could send them out on a schedule. You would click in your start date, and it doesn't have to end. It could go out every day, every week, depending on the report, and be emailed to those particular people that are wanting to get that report in their hands. When we talk about construction, we also have an interactive custom report writer, which is another level above the regular custom report writer. It gets into a lot of payroll reports if you're doing payroll in-house, but it also handles work in process on a project, on a construction side, handles reports for retention, different balances. If you're having retention held on you as a sub to a GC. And this is what the WIP report would look like as far as a screen view. We're tracking our contract, of course, and our estimate, what we've billed, our cost, and then it's coming up with the earned revenue as well as the over and under billings, so that we can do our journal entries to get those billings adjusted to our actual earned revenue. A lot of report functionality, a lot of dashboards, and custom reports. They are the first level of customization. We provide many of those as far as projects go. And one of the nice things about the custom report writer is you can duplicate an existing report and add it as with another name, make a few changes to it, and you would have the report if there's something specific you want to take a look at in a different way than was on that original report. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. We talked about, I believe, 3 different separate products here. So we started with Sage. Yep. So Sage Field Operations.
Correct.
You've been taking us through Sage Construction Intacct, and that includes the accounting software, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the
Correct.
Sage Construction Manager would be just another software that would help us better manage projects.
Correct. And the construction management and the SFO integrate over to this Intacct product appropriately, so that this becomes accounting and finance has all of their visibility, but maybe operations always works in construction management, service always works in SFO, but here is basically the landing and the final destination of all this data, so that VP of operations, regardless of service or construction, can have their dashboards. They can get all of their information from here, as well as the option to go into the other two.
So all those
Softwares.
the other softwares that we just looked at, they kind of flow into this as the base then, all of them.
Correct.
Okay.
So when Brett gets, we show you all of the core financials. You'll have your GL, your cash management, AP, AR, purchasing, which for SFO will start in SFO potentially and come over here. If construction management was ever an option or a need, that would flow over here. So I just want to make it clear that, yes, you're looking at 3 different things to get the functionality you might want
Sure.
down the road.
Okay.
And you don't carry inventory currently, correct? Even on
Correct.
construction?
Yeah,
you
that's correct.
Yeah, not
Yep, we
not
don't,
typically.
yeah, we don't carry
Okay,
inventory.
so
we don't utilize it within our Sage 100 program.
Okay, so you issue a purchase order for everything,
Exactly. Yep.
and then it goes out to the job. So this,
Correct.
all this functionality would be the same way. I do have a separate purchase order to increase or decrease my inventory. You would not need that. And then I have here my purchase orders. I'm issuing them and I am tracking them by project, by cost type. I have all of those details here. It can be as detailed as you like with quantities, of course, unit pricing, and all of the individual items could be listed out, material versus equipment, get it to the correct cost code. And we're tracking that whole history. If you do have back orders or you handle changes to POs, you could do that, or you could just close the original one out, issue a new PO. And as Kathy showed you, we have all of the posting details. We're always tracking that, and we always have a history or audit trail of the transactions when we start doing all of those transactions. Anything else?
So I guess a question would be, since we really don't personally do a lot of large projects, could you just have the field operations piece by itself? Do you need the other pieces that we just talked about as well, or how does that work? So like field operations, if you were like, I just really, need field operations.
Just
would
really
you
need
have
field.
to have, yeah, would you still have to have the Intacct? I mean, do they kind of work hand in hand?
Software though, right?
Right, you have to have your accounting. Somewhere
Okay,
you have to have your accounting.
So the field operations one that we looked at first actually integrates, it has to integrate, it can't stand alone.
Yeah, we know that
Correct.
has to integrate into
Okay.
Intacct, but the question is you were saying that Intacct, which is our accounting software, that has a construction module within it?
This project area, yes.
Yeah.
And once you subscribe to construction, to have all of your work order projects land here and your work order dimension, then yes, you could do all of this. AIA, time and material, cost plus, you could do all of that billing, track your change requests, your change orders, your AIA document, schedule of values. You have all reports in these modules as well as in the report center. So everything you would need to do once you get the project can be done here, and you would not need construction management since that's a small piece of the puzzle.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
And then you wouldn't have the inventory and there's a time and expense module. You may not even need that. So
So those are all separate subscriptions, is that correct? Like
a lot of
like,
them are, right?
Yeah, like right now with Sage 100, we do all of our payroll processing out of the office. So,
Right.
you know,
exactly.
it's always like, okay, do you really need that? You know, that subscription.
Right.
So,
You would not subscribe to construction payroll. You would not. You may or
Yeah.
may not need time and expenses. We could take a deep dive into that.
Sure.
But you'd get your core financials, which would give you dashboards and reporting, and then the projects would give you the construction functionality for service work orders coming in from SFO as well as a construction project.
Okay, and you can kind of tailor it then from there as far as other subscriptions if you want to add those.
Absolutely. If you decided you needed to take payroll in-house, God forbid, for some reason.
Yeah,
You know, right.
Very
Or,
happy
you
having
know,
it outside.
Right, exactly. Or you grew and inventory became an issue. You can
Sure,
add your
then we could
inventory
add.
module,
Okay,
all of that.
Okay.
Yes.
okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brett?
sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
so
know.
much.
I'm ready to jump in, and I just want to make sure all the questions are
Yeah.
asked. And yes, we threw a lot at you, and yes, there's a lot of options on how we dial this in to meet your needs and
Sure.
take steps, because we certainly
Okay.
can do that.
Right.
And but you know, one thing, and I just with Sue here, I know we don't have Kathy, but we have Eric. And one of the things I've thrown out there is your look at your marketplace partner as, you know, from an option.
Mhm.
And I did want to have you maybe answer, if you would, you know, how what you've seen here compares to the demos that you've had with build ops. Are you able to share any of that with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, looking at the field operations software, I like it. It's light years ahead of where we are right now, and it points us in a direction that we're heading. I don't like that we have to purchase. I mean, I know we need an accounting software regardless, and ultimately our goal is to have, you know, as many of our tasks integrated so that, you know, we can cut down on data entry and stuff like that. Needing that Intacct accounting software gives us a lot of ability in construction that we may not need. So some of that I feel like is going to go wasted.
Well, and so one of the things I always like to say when you say accounting software, and I like to say, try to just come back to you with, well, this is a data platform. And all of the information that you've heard, different areas, and I'll say even build ops, which again, I don't know anything compared to what you guys know about that, meeting your front end, your operational needs, you just are going to put it somewhere. And that's this platform called Intacct. And when you think about the pieces of the puzzle that we need to use or not use, we'll really try to dial that in so you don't feel like you're buying anything that you don't need. But it does come with, you know, well, you get all the financial modules. And inventory is an option. You don't have to add that one. But again, those next steps, and that's what I was really trying to get to and make sure that we do what you want to do next. We want to show you more about that back end, that financial. You know, I'm going to say accounting system because yes, it does all that, but it really is more than that. The best way that I can put it, it's a tool that you need for all of your data capture, that you can make it come back to you with those dashboards and the reporting that really helps you drive your business well. And that's a differentiator from, I'll say, Sage 100 accounting system and Sage Intacct financial platform. I just wanted to kind of have you think that way the best I can. But what would you like to do? what would you like to do as a next step that you see right now?
I guess my next step would be to sit down with Mary and Mike and Paul, and you know, Tom wasn't able to make the demo, so I understand it's recorded. I'd like to have him, you know, sit down and watch the recording and meet as an owners group and you know, talk about you know, how we feel about it, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. We had some questions that Kathy was going to come back and give us answers to. I have some additional ideas on things I'd like to demo if we want to get to that point. So I think that we just need to sit down with the owners group and talk about it, and we need a little bit of time for Tom to watch the demo and kind of go from there.
And definitely I'll get that. Takes me a day or two to get that kind of put in a format that will come your way, but you will see that. And Sue, do you have any questions?
Not right now. The other Sue is on mute.
Yeah, and Sue Dunn, right. And Sue, do you have any? I know she didn't catch up to us until a little ways in, but yes, I was curious about Sue Dunn, if you have any questions at this point. I don't know, maybe she's that's okay. If she chimes in, great. But really, yes. I wanted to confirm next steps. Certainly we are going to get this recording and following up from there. But Eric, is there anything that you might have?
No, Brett, just one, excuse me, one note. We do have some teammates, including Kathy in Chicago, and it looked like Mike and the team's based outside of Milwaukee, so not too far from you guys. So I know it's always helpful to get some in-person FaceTime. So if we make it to that stage, happy to do that, as we know this is a big decision for you guys. So just something to note, and Kathy and I are going to work on getting those answers for those couple of questions that you guys had.
Great.
That sounds good.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
I just have one last question. I would imagine that there's probably some, you know, people at a company that may need to have the Sage field operations as well as the Sage Intacct. Is that correct? If you're kind of working in both of those areas?
That's correct, and Brett can chime in here too, but we'll help define what users are needed so you can best maximize whatever systems that you're in. But that's all part of the defining the licenses and workflow process.
Yep. That's what I kind of figured. I just want a clarification on that.
Yep. And we, when the time's right, we'll want to, and it's Teresa that you would meet, that would just take you through all the financial back end, and we start talking about business users and different types of the users. And certainly, yes, Eric and Kathy and Sue will help me confirm the best those users, those user types that will be the right solution for you.
Sounds good.
Great. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I definitely want to say, you know, thanks for everyone's time. I know it's kind of it's an earlier start, but we do appreciate it. We want to make sure we get as many people involved here that would be part of making the decision on this. And I want to say thank you for that, for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Have a great day. Take care.
Yes, thank you again, and we'll talk soon. Look for that recording coming.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.
You too. Bye.